Hello, everyone. I'm sure by now you would have seen what happened at the National Assembly, where they were singing that useless Tinubu something song. What did they call it? On your mandate, and the National Assembly. I want us to take a moment and understand what that really means. We have a national anthem, right? Nigeria has a national anthem. And they went on at the National Assembly. They were playing that song. I had wanted to, I had wanted to download the video and put it here so that you just see. I just said, nah, that would even be for me. That would be so debasing to even put it on my video. But to see how our institutions are being eroded, are being debased. The National Assembly sits down and is playing some campaign song of someone that rigged his way into office. Lord have mercy. And I see a lot of Nigerians who seem to think this is none of their business as long as they can find food to eat and might do their this thing. It will be your business. It is everybody's business, whether we make it our business or we don't make it our business. That's why when I see people who come to say, oh, I never thought Nigeria would happen to me. When something happens to them, well, I have zero sympathy. Because who did you think Nigeria should be happening to when you sat down? Oh, it should be happening to some other people because you are immune, right? Some people think they are immune from this thing. We are watching why our country is being destroyed. The next thing the people that are in Somalia, they were not like that always. So the people you see in South Sudan and all of that, they were not like that always. So this is how they were. This is what led them to that place. So this is the path that we are on. When some people think that, oh no, let's keep praying. We are waiting for God to do for us what He has given us the capacity for us to do for ourselves. Our institutions are being eroded, are being killed, are being destroyed. Hey.
So, I mean, there was something that happened that it's caused a lot of engagement on social media, which I wanted to ask you. There was a particular song, not a national anthem, but was a mandate song that was being sung. A lot of people were asking that in an official environment, that kind of thing be happening.
No, not really. But it happens. But it's not a crime.
So is it right?
Yeah, it's not right. But it's not a crime.
Does it make you and your colleagues in an official environment?
No.
Does it make you look good?
Not really. But honestly, it's not a big deal. But in this country, we used to pick on trivial things. I thought we are taking our time now. I thought
but I mean, this is also that's why I wanted to take it quickly so that we can get into the meat of the matter.
When your president walks in, there are times that some members take advantage of that kind of situation to even challenge the president directly. I remember when I was in a house, there was one of our colleagues who were in the opposition then. We called him Pia Pia. And when the president came and started making long presentation, Obasanjo was the president then. He stood up and he said, Karianka. It's in the outside it means it's a lie. And the president was shocked. Obasanjo. Then he sat down. And then president continued. It's normal. When Buhari came some times back, this same thing was done. Say Baba, say Baba, say Baba. So why should Tinubu's case be a big deal? That time he didn't call me to ask me why did he say Baba. Is it now because Tinubu is the president? And I was not there anyway.
I ask you now.
I was not there.
Senator, I'm asking whether it is right. That's the question.
I'm saying it's not right, but equally it's not a crime.
Okay, let's get to the meat of the matter. I just wanted to get your view whether or not, we should be doing that in an official environment. But let's go. It's an unofficial thing. I don't think.
Let's go where they do that. They have these instances somewhere. Even in America, where we are coming from, you have issues like that. There was a time Donald Trump went to make a presentation. He presented his speech which is the tradition, to somebody, Pelosi, who is the speaker. She, in the front of the president, she tore the speech.
Nigeria is watching, and some of those younger people are also watching. Let's get to the budget. Are you impressed with the budget, though? Or
Yeah.
You are analyzing and looking into the details already?
Yeah, I have it here. That's what I do, but the full detail is big, so it's not easy. But I look at the summary of it, which was presented, and the objective of the budget. The president came and said, this is the budget of renewed hope. And normally, when you say you have your agenda or mantra as renewed hope, then you have to make it realistic. But one thing interesting or impressive about this budget actually is it is not only budget, as I see it, of renewed hope, but it's budget that is more realistic than the budgets that are presented before.
What makes it so?
Yeah, because, see, I tried to do comparative analysis with what we had during the last regime, the presentation of under President Muhammadu Buhari. The budget during his time was 24.8 trillion put together. We included the one the Obasanjo brought. This time around, the budget is 27.2 trillion. The revenue expected last time up to date in 2023 was 10.045 trillion. But this time we're expecting a budget of 16.87 trillion. I would have loved to.
Yeah, I have a breakdown.
You have the breakdown?
Yes, I do.
Fine. So, but what I have is the capital expenditure vis-a-vis what we had in. Well, you don't have
the comparative.
Yes.
No.
So
I don't
I'm
have
giving you the comparative.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Now, and I think it's like your own. The budget deficit to GDP was 6.1, and it has been reduced to 3.88 now this year. The capital expenditure put together last year or this year that is running out or ran out yesterday was 5.9. This year we have unprecedented increase, and that is what I really gave me this. The budget now has 30.12 or 2% trillion, increase. 30% of the budget is going in for capital. That is 8.7 trillion.
And the last time was 2023?
Yeah, it was 5.9, including the one that was recently brought by Mr. President. It was just below, I think, about 25%.
So we're spending more money on capital.
That is the one thing that I have been, this time around, the capital expenditure and put in together is about 31%. It has never
of the
been
entire budget.
Yes. Then the recurrent, I have issues with the recurrent even before now. But this year it was 8.3 trillion going. But in the budget of 2024, the recurrent expenditure is going to be 9.9 trillion, almost 10 trillion. But the reason behind this, which is understandable, is that there is going to be from April increase in salaries.
So that has been captured.
Yeah, that has been captured. That's what brought this.
That jacked it up. That increased it for almost over $1 trillion.
Yeah, over $1 trillion. It's more than 1 trillion.
It's more than 1 trillion, yes, compared to the last one.
Yeah, that's it. And the debt service last time was 6.3 trillion. Now is 8.25. That's what.
Are you worried about that, though?
Yeah, I'm
debt
worried.
servicing.
I'm really worried, and I said this is something that the president needs to look into. This issue of debt service is something that I personally want to, and I'm sure the president has a good team to look into. And I'm happy that the Minister of Finance said it there, that we cannot continue to be, using borrowed money to service our debt. So there has to be more drive in terms of revenue. They have, I can't say it's ambitious, but the good thing is that even this budget, 10.3 or nearly 10.4 trillion revenue will be from non-oil related sources, and 1.29 trillion from independent revenue. That is, then there's going to be about 685 billion from grants on donor-funded projects, and also about 359 billion coming from dividends from LNG, Bank, Development Bank of Nigeria, Galaxy Backbone, and Bank of Industry. All that, you know, it has not been like that before because these people just collect money and use it the way they want in those days. One good and impressive thing is that there is going to be a reduction of the budget deficit. It used to be 13.78 trillion, that is in 2023. But now it's going to go down to 9.18. So in short, one of the concerns really is that of the borrowing. But I said before here that it's not the issue of even borrowing. The issue is what you do with the money that you borrow. I don't mind if Nigerian money, almost all of it, is used for infrastructure that even my grandchildren will be paying for it. Because when they grow up and they ask, why are we paying this money? If this train, this road, and you know, all these things, structures, these schools, this hospital was built from that borrowed money. So every country borrows. The highest debtor, I think, in the world now is the United States.
But you know, you mentioned the medium-term expenditure framework. That is exactly what sits behind our budget. You know, so if you want to discuss the budget, talk about the medium-term expenditure framework because it has set up what you call the resource allocation as well as the policy document behind the budget. It is also what makes the budget transparent. So let me talk about the medium-term expenditure framework. You'll understand how our budgets are created now, and if it is indeed a budget of hope. 5 things sit behind the medium-term expenditure framework. The first one is the macroeconomic framework itself, you know, which seems to look at all of the growth indicators. Then I think you mentioned that the president also mentioned the fiscal strategy paper. So everything fiscal, tax, infrastructure development sits there. The third one is the income and expenditure framework. So you mentioned that we have 27.5 trillion budget. You know, income is about 18 trillion. That sits there. Then the additional 2, those first 3 are very important. The additional 2 looks at our debt. One looks at the current debt statement, and the other looks at the existing debt statement as well as the current plus existing. So, you know, there's some debt now that we're going to take about 8-9 trillion, and there's an existing debt, circa about 88-90 trillion, which already exists. Now, those 5
The way
things,
you accountants call this figure, sometimes us mere mortals get really scared.
Well,
when you think about the number of zeros behind it, 1 trillion, and then you're saying 80 trillion.
Yeah. Which is why he said to them, budget is just a number. Hey, we have
the budgets are numbers.
I'm having a fit.
Which is why I said, let's look at the assumptions behind it. When you look at these assumptions, the first thing I typically look at is the growth rate. So the macroeconomic framework tends to force you to look at the growth rate. What growth rate have they sort of put in the MTEF that the president projected? 3.76. Now, if you look at that growth rate, how does it really make sense? You compare it to the population growth rate in Nigeria. Our population growth rate today is about 2.5. So if you look at a 2.5 population growth rate relative to a 3.76 growth GDP, it tells you immediately that this is not a budget of hope. It is a budget of coasting along. Let us just coast along for now. Any budget of hope will be something where the growth rate is around 7 to 10%. So I guess the guys in charge, they're being very careful, you know, not to overestimate their positions, you know, which is why they've said, look, let us just coast along. So anything around hope, forget it. Nigerians should just forget it for now. There's nothing hopeful around it.
Oh dear.
This is not the budget for me that will, you know, reduce the Japa syndrome. It is not the budget that will also create some huge industrialization or some human capital, massive development, or a budget that will encourage employment and all of those things. No. Okay. This is just, let's just coast along for now.
Okay.
And all of the indicators seem to speak to this.